Today on Retire with Purpose, what it means to become unhackable, 6 surprising benefits of not retiring when your spouse does, and we're going to share a unique planning strategy we've used in our own family.
Welcome to Retire with Purpose, a show specifically designed to help you maximize your financial confidence in retirement. Casey Weade is the CEO and Chief Visionary of Howard Bailey Financial, a certified financial planner and Wall Street Journal best-selling author. He's your host on Retire with Purpose.
Welcome to the program. I am Lee Kelso here with the multi-talented Casey Weade, certified financial planner, Wall Street Journal bestselling author, and the host of the Retire with Purpose podcast. And I'm poking him a little bit today because after hundreds of episodes, we're going back to the beginning. You're going back to your very first guest on the podcast.
That's right. I think this is TV episode around 280, but yeah. we're going back to the first episode of the podcast, and that was our first guest, Carrie Overrunner, joined us for that very first episode back in 2018, and he came into that episode to discuss one of his many books, but this one in particular was Day Job to Dream Job, an interesting little factoid. He actually wrote that book in the prison where Shawshank Redemption was filmed because he wanted the feeling of being in prison, which is how many people feel in their jobs. And that's where he kind of felt at the time, and he wanted to get to a dream job, and that's what that whole conversation was all about. Since then, he has grown his company in just the last 2 years to, I believe, 50 employees that he has now. His business has exploded because of this concept called Souls on Fire. And he joined us to discuss his most recent book called Unhackable. So I'm going to let Carrie share with you in his words what it means to become unhackable.
So the book Unhackable is saying, why is there this gap that exists between dreaming and doing, between ideating and implementing? And what it does is it says that that gap exists a large part because of technology. Technology, the average person touches, swipes, taps, clicks their phone 2,600 times a day. The average person has to make 35,000 decisions a day, 226 about food. And so this is why, Casey, we feel like in today's world, something called decision fatigue, where literally we start out with energy, but throughout the day we have so many thousands of micro decisions that at the end of the day we use words like, I'm running on fumes, I'm going on empty, I'm burnt out, I'm fading. Energy terms. Well, the book Unhackable is all about how to reclaim your life through 30 daily missions. 30 daily missions over a month, but you basically create these missions to reclaim your life and your dreams so that you can stop getting hacked.
Well, in just a moment, we're going to give you the opportunity to get those 30 daily missions for yourself. We're going to be giving away a free copy of Carrie's book, Unhackable, so stick around to find out how. But before that, we want to see if you enjoy one of those 30 daily missions as much as I did. We're going to let Carrie share with you right now one of his favorite 30 daily missions that he shares in the book.
Urgency. Urgency is, I think, day 17. But what it basically says is that you need to create a deadline for your dream. And here's why. Because we call it health care or urgent care. Why is it called urgent care? Because there's a cost if you don't get seen medically. Unlike just going into the doctor for a physical. Urgent care means there's a cost. And what we've done in our lives is we haven't created costs or deadlines for our dreams. We just say, oh, I'll get to that when I want to get to it. I'll get to it when it's important. And we never do. It's a lie. We are literally lying to ourselves. Jim Rohn called it the Law of Diminishing Intent. The longer you wait to do something, the less likely you will ever do it. So right now, there's things in people's minds that are called open windows where they haven't made a decision. And it's literally like RAM on a computer, and there's too many windows open, and it's sucking their productivity. And so what I do is I encourage people to get a Post-it note write down all the unmade decisions that they have. The smallest, the biggest, getting a landscaper, you name it. And all these decisions, they write them down, and they might have 30 of them. And these 30 decisions are literally grinding their subconscious all the time and slowing down their productivity. What you do is you put a poster up, and it says do, it says delegate, and it says dump. And you take these 30 post-it notes, and under do, you put the ones that you want to do. Under delegate, Casey's favorite word, you put delegate. And under dump, you put all those.
Well, many of the families we work with, they've come to us because they want to delegate some of those decisions. They want to have some assistance. They want to offload some of those financial things so they can focus more on just being simply present and focusing on their purpose. You know, Carrie believes that in order to define what your purpose is, you first have to define your identity, who you are. And one of my questions for Carrie was, can we really identify who we are, our true identity, if we don't experience some pain in our life?
Pain will make you jump the line a lot faster. In other words, when you go through pain in life, and I'm not saying it's always health, it could be emotional pain, but I would tell you that the area of your deepest wound is often the area of your biggest contribution. So where we've struggled in life often becomes a strength. When you break a bone and it's reset, it can actually become stronger. The strongest tissue in life is scar tissue. So pain, we know, creates strength. And this is where a lot of the generation or humanity in general, we don't want to hear that. But we were talking before we started the show, David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me book. He went through a lot of pain, and everybody wants the crown, but nobody wants the cross. And you need to carry the cross to find the crown. And this is the difference between acute pain and chronic pain. Chronic pain is dumb, purposeless, always there. It's agonizing. It's a bummer. Acute pain is short, intentional, focused, and beneficial. So if I tear my shoulder and I have a torn labrum, I'm in chronic pain. To get that chronic pain fixed is going to cause more pain, which is surgery, acute pain, and then rehab, but I will get healed. And that's where Jim Rohn said it like this: there's two pains in life. One weighs ounces, the other weighs tons. He said discipline and regret are two pains in life. One weighs ounces and one weighs tons. In other words, discipline is painful, but when you go through it, you will have strength and not regret.
Carrie's mission is to create souls on fire. Let's hear what that means.
So we were created with three questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And where am I going? And this is why you and I connect so well, because who am I is identity. So most people start that with that question, who am I? Identity. Then once that question is answered, you then become other-centric. Instead of saying, who am I, and all your focus is on you, you then begin to say, who am I? Okay, now I know who I am, my identity. Now why am I here? So now you become all about purpose and your contribution in the world. Once you answer that question, who am I, why am I here? Then what you usually say is, I'm in the wrong job. I know who I am, I know my purpose, why am I doing what I'm doing? Because my parents told me, because I went to college, because this is what you do in the USA, whatever. Then that's where you become consumed with where you are. And so check it out. Who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? Identity, purpose, direction. Where those three circles converge is a soul on fire. When you know those three answers, you become a soul on fire. And as Ferdinand Foch said, you're now the most powerful weapon on earth. And Saint Irenaeus said that the glory of God is a man or woman fully alive. So I believe that that is our best thing we can achieve in life. Money's great. It should be part of it. But if you don't know your identity, purpose, and direction, you're going to be a lost soul.
I'll bet Carrie's an interesting guy to sit down and drink some coffee with, yeah?
Absolutely.
I'll bet. So we can't give you that opportunity, but something almost as good. Casey and the team at Howard Bailey have worked out with Carrie an opportunity for you to have a copy of his book, Unhackable, at no cost. So if you're like to have a copy of Carrie's book, Unhackable, you can call 866-482-9559, 866-482-9559. The book is all about learning how to tune out unnecessary distraction, focus your energy where it can make the biggest impact on your life. And these books are available to you until they're gone. So call and request one at 866-482-9559. All right, when we come back, Marshal Johnson joins Casey to take a look at why it might not be a great idea for you and your spouse to retire at the same time.
Are you making the most of your Social Security benefit? Filing strategies are complex, so if you want to maximize your hard-earned dollars, you need to make informed decisions regarding your unique situation. Not only do you need to decide whether to file early or wait until your full retirement age, but you also need to know of the potential tax implications you could face. Learn how to harness the best strategy for Social Security filing when it comes to your retirement by downloading our complimentary Social Security Guide. Go to retirewithpurpose.com/Social Security.
Welcome back to Retire with Purpose. We are now joined by my good friend and co-host of the Retire with Purpose podcast, Marshal Johnson.
Hey, glad to be here. Glad to be here.
And this is our opportunity to cover one of the 4 articles that we send out every single Friday as part of our Weekend Reading for Retirees email series. We do this on the podcast at length, where we cover one of these 4 articles that are all about the trending topics you will find in the finance space, in the retirement space, all designed to help you make better financial decisions when it comes to your retirement. The article we're going to be spotlighting for you today comes from episode number 181 of the Retire with Purpose podcast. You can get a link to the article right there in the show notes as well. This one comes to us from Money Talk News and it is titled 6 Surprising Benefits of Not Retiring When Your Spouse Does.
I love articles that challenge assumptions, right? A lot of people come to see us and they feel like, well, I got to retire at 65 or 62, or they've predetermined an age, and they're both going to retire at the very same time. But honestly, there are some benefits to not retiring at the same.
We want to retire. We want to,
travel and
run off in the sunset together. We want to enjoy our retirement together, and we want to do it as quickly as possible. Which I understand that. I think that has a lot of merit, and I've seen many retirees do this successfully. But there are some things for you to consider if you're going through this thought process, and one of those things is tax-advantaged retirement accounts.
Yeah, if one spouse is still working, that still gives you the ability to contribute to these tax-advantaged accounts. And that's also worth understanding who has the better tax-advantaged account to keep contributing to, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot to take into consideration there. Even when you're going to retire, you're going to retire at 50 or 55. Do you have a 457 or a 401k plan?
Yep.
And look at that. One of the ages that we talked about recently in a podcast episode was age 50.
Right.
If you're a government employee, you've got a 457 plan, separate from service after the age of 50, and you can start taking distributions without that 10% penalty tax.
Right.
You don't have to wait all the way to 59 and a half. That's one thing that you want to consider. And one of the things I think that's often overlooked too is that I've sat down with couples that come in and only one of the 2 spouses is contributing to a retirement account. One spouse is working, not recognizing that you can still contribute to a retirement account even if you're not working, as long as your spouse is working. They could be contributing to a 401k. You could be contributing to an IRA for that matter. And so there's benefits there in those tax-advantaged retirement accounts in a lot of different ways that you need to take into consideration.
Another point that they made in the article was bigger Social Security payments. So that spouse that continues to work can allow their Social Security to get those delayed credits and roll up to a very large amount.
Yeah, and you go, well, who should do it?
Yeah.
And that is something that is not easy to answer.
Right.
We'll sit down with you and do a Social Security analysis with you and let you determine which one should continue working. Here's something to consider. Your Social Security benefit is based on your 35 highest earning years.
Right.
So do you have 35 years that are going to be included in that average? Because we know how averages work, right? If we get a 0 in an average, that can dramatically reduce our average and in return, dramatically reduce your Social Security benefit at the same time.
Yeah, we see this a lot with families where maybe the mom took care of kids for 3 or 5, 7 years, so she's got those zeros in there. By working an extra couple of years, you may really improve the benefit.
Yeah. The next one is lower healthcare costs. So should someone continue to work to ensure that they keep that insurance that's maybe substantially lower? Well, which one of you is going to have the better of the two plan that covers both of you? It's just something for us to consider, and not just from a health insurance perspective, but if you have one of the two of you that continues to work in a high deductible healthcare plan, that means both of you can contribute to your HSA or your health savings accounts.
Yep, we love those HSAs, the super Roth, as we like to call it.
Yeah, we get tax deductions for putting the money in, it grows tax deferred, and as long as you use it for medical expenses, it comes out tax free on the back end. And even if you don't use it for healthcare expenses, you can still take distributions after the age of 65 without a penalty. It just kind of turns into an IRA. We don't get penalized on those distributions, but they are taxed instead of being tax free.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us into the next point, where lower tax burden. When one spouse retires, your overall income tax is going to be at a lower level, and that may present lots of planning opportunities as well.
Yeah, one of the opportunities that we see come up time and time again, especially in this low tax rate environment that we find ourselves in today, is Roth conversions. Yeah. So which one of you should retire? Maybe not the highest earning spouse. Maybe we should have the lower earning spouse go ahead and continue working. We retire the higher earning spouse so that we land ourselves in just the right tax bracket to do a certain level of contributions or conversions to a Roth IRA year after year to put us in the most advantageous place once we step into retirement.
You know, we often talk about marriage compression. We've had a couple podcasts where we're talking about some of the challenges, maybe the softer side of retirement when both spouses retire at the same time. So you may actually have better relationships and a better transition into retirement by not both going at the same time.
Yeah, I like to combine the last 2 points in this article, surprising benefits for not retiring when your spouse does, and that is an easier transition and a better relationship. It's an easier transition because you're not both going through what is one of the biggest and most challenging life transitions you'll ever go through in your entire life at the same time, simultaneously. At least one of the two of you can still maintain a steady hand. And then also, as Marshall mentioned, marital compression. You know, you're going to be spending a lot more time together as you step into retirement. If one of the two of you steps away and the other one continues to work, you're probably going to spend more time together, but it's going to be an easier transition rather than that hard transition where you're together all the time.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite points of doing what I do is I get to sit down with families when they're exploring, can I retire? I call it the can I retire process, right? Going through the details and really trying to understand the numbers, understanding the Social Security benefits, the healthcare situation, understanding how and when. This is a real fun process.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that we can help you with. Maybe you're trying to make this decision on who should retire first. We'll provide you with a tax analysis. We'll provide you with a Social Security analysis. We'll do retirement income projections for you as well. We'll look at the big picture and help you determine which one of you would be best to retire first and which one should continue working and for how long. This is where we really shine. This is our area of specialty. So give us a call right now at the number on your screen or text the number on your screen right now, and we will schedule a complimentary consultation to help you answer those questions and whatever else might be on your mind. I want you to stick around because after this, we're going to be covering a few different points as we answer your questions. We're going to be talking about maximizing Social Security benefits. We're going to be discussing minimizing taxes in retirement, as well as unique investment strategies that we've used in my family and that of our clients.
Are you making the most of your Social Security benefit? Filing strategies are complex, so if you want to maximize your hard-earned dollars, you need to make informed decisions regarding your unique situation. Not only do you need to decide whether to file early or wait until your full retirement age, but you also need to know of the potential tax implications you could face. Learn how to harness the best strategy for Social Security filing when it comes to your retirement by downloading our complimentary Social Security Guide. Go to retirewithpurpose.com/Social Security.
If you have a question for Casey, it couldn't be easier. Just go to retirewithpurpose.com and roll down on the screen. You'll see a little text window. Enter your question there, and it comes to Casey, and we'll put it in front of him, as we're going to do today, with a question about the most unique investment strategy you've either implemented for yourself or for a client's retirement plan.
Boy, I don't like the word unique investment strategy. The IRS definitely doesn't like unique tax strategies, but there are some that maybe you haven't heard of before that are just a little different or a little unusual that don't happen maybe on a regular basis. And one of those has to do with option strategies, for one. There's a client that I can remember that had a highly concentrated position in a bank stock, highly concentrated. We're talking, 80% of their net worth, north of that. And they wanted to sell it because they wanted to re-diversify, and we were able to do that in a couple of different ways. They wanted to hold on to some of the stock, they wanted to give some to charity. We moved some of the stock into a charitable remainder trust where we could re-diversify and they could still get income from the stock. We were also able to put together an option strategy on a portion of that stock as well, where we did something called a collar. So we were able to buy a put, sell a call. We generated extra income and reduced the downside risk of that individual stock. For another client, we did what's called net unrealized appreciation, and that is something, if you have an employer stock inside your 401k, you need to give us a call before you retire. Don't just roll those dollars from a 401k into an IRA, because you're missing out on potentially a massive opportunity. We saw this a lot with Raytheon employees. We had one that I can remember where the cost basis inside the 401k was around $20 a share. It had grown to about $70 a share. Had he just rolled all of that stock into an IRA, then on the back end, it all would have been taxed as ordinary income when it was withdrawn. Instead, we could roll it into a brokerage account, pay ordinary income on the cost basis of $20, and then that $50 gain, when we decide to sell it, would be taxed as a long-term capital gain, so it'd get preferential capital gains treatment. For myself and our family, we use life insurance a lot, and one of the things I did that might be unique in that realm would be my mom had an old life insurance policy that she didn't want. She didn't have any reason to hold on to a life insurance policy. Where's the money go? It's going to go to me anyways. So she was going to cash out the life insurance policy that had around $15,000 in cash. I said, hold on, I'll give you the $15,000. I'll take over ownership of the policy. I'll pay the $1,800 annual premium. And on the back end, there'll be about $120,000 tax-free death benefit. At her life expectancy, that's equivalent to almost a 10% annualized tax-free return, well beyond her life expectancy into her 90s. It's still a 4% plus tax-free return. Where am I going to get those kinds of returns today? So think a little differently. Sometimes you have to get creative when it comes to your investment strategies and specifically your tax strategies.
Okay, we have a question about Social Security. I am past my full retirement age and not currently receiving Social Security benefits. Do I need to wait for my birthday to get the 8% increase, or can I retire earlier and get a prorated increase?
It is a prorated increase, and it is 2/3 of 1% per month. So if you do that calculation, 2/3 of 1% per month is how much your benefit's going to go up every month while you delay taking your Social Security benefit. That's a total of 8% per year. And so yes, you can do that, file at any time. And don't delay your retirement. Don't delay enjoying your retirement because you want to wait an extra 2 weeks for that 2/3 of 1% bump. Enjoy life. It's short.
And our question from John, who writes, when I take a distribution from a traditional IRA, I know I need to pay federal and state taxes on the amount, but do I also have to pay FICA, the Social Security Medicare taxes, on that amount as well?
Well, John, you actually already paid your FICA taxes. When you make IRA contributions, you make 401k contributions, you pay FICA taxes on those contributions to your 401ks, to your IRAs. You don't pay federal income tax, but you're still going to pay your FICA taxes. And then when you withdraw them on the back end, you're not going to get hit with FICA taxes again. Okay. Now, here's the caveat, and this might be what you're thinking. When you take a distribution from that IRA, so on the front end, you paid your FICA taxes, so you paid into Medicare, you paid into Social Security. Now, on the back end, you take those distributions from your IRA, it's going to be taxed as ordinary income, your highest marginal tax bracket. However, that income can impact your Social Security. It can impact your Medicare. So you can pay more in Social Security taxes due to how much income, how much taxable income is coming out of that IRA. You could have your Social Security go from being tax-free to now you hit RMD age, or you took a distribution from your IRA, and now up to 85% of your Social Security benefits could become taxable due to that distribution. So it could, in a way, roundabout way, Uncle Sam's going to find his way to get you here, and that might be how he does it. Another thing is your Medicare premiums. If your income's too high, you can get hit with penalties. And this is due to someone called IRMA, or not so much someone, but it's part of Medicare law, income-related monthly adjustment amounts, or IRMA, and that is if your income's too high, then you're going to have a monthly adjustment to your Medicare premiums. And so if you take too big of a distribution from your IRA that's tax deferred, you could be paying twice as much for the same Medicare coverage as your neighbor just because your income was too high. And this is why it's so important to pay attention to those tax-deferred retirement accounts. It might be great on the front end, and someone might argue, well, I put it in there, I get a tax deduction in retirement, I'll be in the same tax bracket or lower. Well, have you factored in how it's going to impact your Social Security taxes? Have you factored in how it's going to affect your Medicare premium penalties or your Medicare premiums? You have to take into consideration the big picture here, and this is what makes it so important to sit down and work with a certified financial planner practitioner that understands all these ins and outs.
Let me just put an exclamation point on that. Have you ever heard of IRMA before? Well, no. Why would you? I hadn't either, but that's the kind of information that you get when you work with a professional, an independent professional like the team at Howard Bailey. And that's why I hope you're one of the next 10 people to call 866-482-9559 and sit down and meet with a member of the Howard Bailey team to understand how well configured you are for all those retirement and tax issues you just heard about, but as well all the other risks that can fall your way in retirement. The tax increases, healthcare crises, many other factors that can affect whether or not you're going to have a long and successful retirement. So be one of the next 10 people and call right now at 866-482-9559 and schedule that meeting with a member of the Howard Bailey team. You can do it in person or virtually. It can take as little as 30 minutes to get started, but it's a good way to spend that important time and set yourself up for a confident, successful, and secure retirement with the help of the member of the Howard Bailey team. That is all the time we have this week. We hope that we'll see you next week for another edition of Retire with Purpose.